My name's James Taylor, I'm Head of Research and Information at the Imperial War Museum. The Ministry of Food was established in September 1939, shortly after the outbreak of the Second World War. And its main role was to, through about 1,000 local food offices, organise the supply of ration books, things like cod liver oil later in the war and orange juice for children, so the special supplements. But also what it undertook to do was to organise, of course, the rationing scheme, which was introduced in January 1940, and also to instruct people in what to eat and how to eat as well. So it had assumed very much an educational role, and it achieved that through a massive publicity campaign. Unlike many of the other government departments, it didn't actually go through the propaganda ministry, which was the Ministry of Information. It actually had its own publicity department for a while, so that's how important it was considered to get the food message across, because food was considered a weapon of war. We always think of, all foods were rationed during the Second World War. That's absolutely not true. A large proportion of foods weren't, things like vegetables and things like fish, for example. But that doesn't mean that you didn't have very lengthy queues at, for example, the greengrocers or the fishmongers. The fishmongers was notoriously the longest queue, and in fact I came across one reference to a V1 landing, coming down in Paddington, and the engine cuts out. This is in 1944, and the only queue where nobody kind of like ducks to the floor is the fish queue, because people just want to stay in and get their fish. The Ministry of Food's publicity campaign is very, very well represented in the museum's collections, not least in terms of posters and recipe leaflets and so on. It's interesting that a number of the posters do actually implore the people who are seeing it not to waste food, and they make the point that actually lives are lost at sea in order to import food, because we must remember that the Ministry of Food was also the sole importer of basic foodstuffs to the country. So this was a very, very important message to get across to people, that this, food was a war-winning weapon, potentially. The Ministry of Food exhibition opens on the 12th of February and will run for the whole of 2010. You will be able to visit recreations of a wartime kitchen, a shop and a greenhouse, as well as finding out more about the production, distribution and consumption of food during the Second World War. Visit the Imperial War Museum website to book your tickets.